Good morning. How's everybody doing? As you can tell, I am not Che Douglas. Funny enough, though, I'm going to tell you this story real quick. Last night I was at the speaker reception, and Amy Conover came over to me and she said, we have a little bit of a situation. Che fell ill. Would you be able to speak for him tomorrow? Now, I spoke on Tuesday, so I said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Okay, no problem. Oddly enough, JD, which you'll learn in a second, is actually J. Douglas. So Che Douglas is not here. You got J. Douglas today. Topics are a little different, but before we get started, this is the first time I've been at a design conference. Therefore, it's actually the first time I'm doing speaking in front of a bunch of people as well. So Tuesday was great. I had a great time. The people that came were engaged. They were amazing. And I learned something over the course of this week, and that's the design community and the marketers and everybody that is here, the students, they're very passionate people. We are a passionate bunch. We are attentive. We give our time and attention to the speakers. We're engaging in between sessions out in the exhibit hall. We had tabletop discussions. We had one-on-one coaching sessions. I was a part of all of them. I met some really amazing, great creatives. You guys are fantastic. So thank you all very much for being amazing people. It is still Friday. It's the last day. You guys are still here, hanging in here. We really appreciate that. With that being said, I'm hoping you guys can do me one small favor. I know how much work goes into preparing for a presentation. I can't imagine how devastated Che must be not to be here today, to speak to you guys, to meet you guys, and to talk about his topic. So what I'd like to do, with your help, I'm going to record a short little video for him. I've never met Che before in my life. I don't know him. I was looking forward to seeing him speak. I'm just going to shoot him a real quick, sorry we missed you. We understand. We'll see you soon. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to face you guys. And what I'd love for you guys to do is give me like a feel better Che or a hey Che and just wave. Can you guys do that for me? I'm sure it'll sit really well with him and he'll feel much better about that. Right? All right. Let's go down here. All right, I'll turn around. I'll go like this, and you guys. All right. Hey, Che, my name is JD Gargano. I'm here at the How Design Conference, and as a speaker here, I understand how much work, time, and effort goes into preparing your speech. I know that you weren't able to be here today. It must be devastating for you to not share your vision, your words, with this amazing group of people that are here. So from myself and everybody here at the How Design Conference, we wish you best wishes, get well soon, and we hope to see you the next time you speak. Thank you, guys. So, I shall begin. Thank you. I really appreciate you guys doing that. I'm sure he will too. So, like I said, I met a lot of great people, but for those of you who I have not yet met, my name is JD Gargano, and I am currently the creative director for a digital media company called Captivate. Before I go any further, if anybody is in here who was here on Tuesday, was expecting to see Che, is that you? Did you wave? No? Okay. I have no ill feelings toward you. If you wanted to go and see somebody else, I completely understand. I am literally going to say what I said on Tuesday. So if you missed it on Tuesday and you're here, awesome. If you did see me on Tuesday, did you see me on Tuesday? No, not you. I spoke to you at the session, but were you here on Tuesday? Did you see me on Tuesday? Perfect, you're good. So, if you did, please go and listen to some of the other amazing speakers. For those of you who stay, I really appreciate it. So I'm the creative director for a digital media company called Captivate. What is Captivate? Captivate, did you ever get into an elevator and maybe there's 2 or 3 other people that are in there with you? And it's quiet, nobody knows each other, it's awkward, it's a small space, and it's uncomfortable. It's a very uncomfortable feeling. Or you do that like fig leaf pose. You know what the fig leaf pose is? Like you get in and you kind of do one of these. It's awkward. So the founders of Captivate, 20 years ago, they decided, we want to do something to break up that awkwardness in an elevator. Let's put a screen inside an elevator. And we're going to deliver content, we're going to deliver ads. So this is what a Captivate screen looks like. Captivate has 12,000 screens across 1,800 buildings in North America. They're in premier office buildings, and we have a very, very, very large audience of people. We reach 11 million people a month, and we serve them things like ads. Like if you look in the top right-hand corner, we pipe through ads programmatically and we schedule them. Everybody from the Googles and the Amazons of the world to local mom and pop shops who want to take ad space on Captivate and say, hey, we have a coffee shop downstairs, come and have a cup of coffee. At the bottom of it, we have content that's curated by a live staff. We have a live in-house team that will pull sports and business and news, fashion and lifestyle that all pertains to the working day. So it's relevant to the people that are inside the elevators during the workday. And then on the top left, we have which is our widget. Surprisingly enough, that is where the time and temperature is. That's like the first thing that people look at. When people get into an elevator, they want to see what time and temperature it is. I don't know if that's because they're counting down until they go home, or they say, it's 70 degrees and I'm stuck in an office, but that is the most looked at part, the first looked at part for sure, when you first get into an elevator. We've done heat map studies. That's how we know that that is where people are looking. Quick story. Back in January, when I was asked to speak at How Design this year, I immediately thought back to when I graduated School of Visual Arts, and even when I was in the School of Visual Arts, and I would go to bookstores like Borders and Barnes & Noble, and I would sit down at the design section and I would grab as many books as I could, the Chip Kidd books and the Debbie Millmans and the Stefan Sagmeisters, and I would just surround myself with magazines like How to try to absorb and learn as much as I possibly could, see what other people are doing. This was the last book that I grabbed in 2011 of How, and it was because it showed the 272 winning designs of print and interactivity. Who doesn't want an award? I want to know how these people got an award. I want to know what their work looked like. So I would study these things, and it helped me understand what people were looking for and were looking at when it came to designing. So it's kind of interesting how it's full circle, how 8 years later, How has now asked me to speak at How Design. So I'm very grateful for that opportunity. And it goes back to my roots of being a designer in design school, looking for inspiration and seeing what else is out there in the world. This is what I wanted to call this session. It's called Marketing Design for New Media, but the more I dug into what I was going to talk about, the more I thought about this topic of new media, the more I realized that my home is a smart home. I have Google in every room. I've got Nest cams, security cams, doorbell, thermostat, smartphone. What the hell did I sign up for? What am I consenting to? I never thought about it like that. I just thought convenience. Yay, cook raw chicken. Google, how do I do that? How do I get stain out of a shirt? Remove this wine stain. But I never really thought about what it was that I was allowing into my home. It's an interesting thing to think about. You just take it for granted. So that begs a bigger question. How much are you willing to pay for convenience? How much are you willing to pay for convenience? I'm not talking about the monetary value of it. I'm not talking about dropping $1,000 for a smartphone or $500 for a smartwatch or a couple $1,000s for a smart fridge. I'm talking about what is it that we're consenting to, all in the sake of convenience. Whatever it is, we're losing some of that privacy. We all know it. Did anybody ever consciously think about, I'm going to put a Google Home in my house. I don't care about privacy. We know they're recording us. We know that when we say, hey Google, hey Alexa, for a short period of time afterwards, it records us and collects that data. Our phones do the same thing, televisions do the same thing, TVs are doing the same thing. Convenience versus privacy. I want them both. But we're not there yet, right? But why not? I don't know. One day, we'll get there. Or will we? So Simon Sinek is an amazing motivational speaker and best-selling author, and he wrote the book Start With Why. And in it, he talks about the 3 why questions that leaders will say or put out there to inspire people to take action. And I know over the course of this week, a lot of people were talking about the why this, the why nows. So I'm going to just quickly run through these 3 as it pertains to us in this conference right now. So why this? This is the How Design live conference for marketers and designers. We're all marketers and designers, and we're all here to learn and hear about what the speakers have to say that pertains to them, and that's why they go to these sessions. So why you? How many people in here are designers? By show of hands, how many have a design title? Wow, that's awesome. How many people are marketers? Great. I know a lot of marketing conference speaks happened earlier in the week, so I appreciate you guys for being here today. How about everybody else? You guys, what, students? Do we have any students in here? No, agency owners? Are you guys on the agency side? Majority of you are designers, so that's great. So why now? Why are we here now? Why are we talking about this stuff now? The theme for this year, I found at How, is the future. We're talking about the future of design. We're talking about the future, what's going to happen with us as designers. What are we looking forward to? What is the new technologies? What is it we're going to design and market for in the future? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about the why stuff today. The digital and media landscape is changing so fast. Really, really fast. We're going to go back just 10 short years. And we're going to see how that has changed and how it's evolved. How fast is technology moving? To reach 50 million users, how long do you think it took the landline, the one that was invented in the 1800s, how long do you think it took to reach 50 million users? Anybody? Somebody? 100 years? Okay. One more. 200. It took 50. It took 50 years to reach 100 million users. It took cell phones 12 years to reach 50 million users. And it took Pokemon Go 19 days to reach 50 million users. Why? Because of the advances in technology, faster processing, more smartphone usage, better internet, AR, FOMO, fear of missing out. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's on Twitter talking about it. People are falling off cliffs. I gotta try this. Let me do that. I did try it for a little bit, and I didn't fall off a cliff, but I wasn't that much interested in either. But I was in that FOMO category. Let me try this. So real quick, some goals for today. I want to talk about just a little bit about the landscape of media, consumption, digital technology, then and now, just going back 10 short years. Then we'll talk a little bit about where we're headed and how can we adapt, change, and prepare. This man was quoted hell of a lot here this week. I don't know if anybody noticed it. This is Seth Godin. He wrote the book, This is Marketing. That's his most recent book, and he also has a podcast, which is amazing as well. And in it, he says, attention is a precious resource since our brains are cluttered with noise. We all know that we're served over 5,000 ads a day, whether we consciously realize it or not. That's a statistic, and that number is going up. So I don't think he's talking just about that. I don't think he's talking about how much we're served in a day. I think he also goes into a little bit about how much we're doing in a day. We are multitasking now more than ever. We are doing too many things at once. How many people watched Game of Thrones on Sunday night and had the television on in front of them, had their cell phone out while they're flipping through Twitter or Instagram, and had their tablet or laptop sitting around and they were shopping? Maybe, oh, you guys admitting to it. I actually wasn't expecting that. It was kind of rhetorical, but that's awesome. See? It happens. We're doing too much. This isn't like where there was none of that technology and we were sitting in front of the television for hours on end watching TV and actually watching the ads that were served to us. Thank you for admitting that. That's awesome. So a little bit about then and now. We're just going to go back 10 short years. Before I do that, how many people will be graduating or have graduated school within the last 5 years, either this year or 5 years ago? Okay. How about 5 to 10 years ago? All right, 10 plus. Damn. I'm in that category too, so I'm not saying, yeah, you guys are old. I'm saying, when we went to school for those 10 plusers, or even the latter 5 to 10 years, school and what we were offered as classes were very different than they are today. We learned print, and we learned how to make posters, and we learned how to paint. Motion graphics, which is what I got into, was barely there. It kind of had just started, but it really wasn't what it is today. And we sure as hell were not talking about the new media stuff. So as marketers and designers, as we grow and as we learn and as we see what's coming out, we need to start moving towards that stuff. And we need to start looking at where we used to be and where we're going and be prepared for it. So we're going to talk about that today. In 2009, 86% of people skipped TV ads. Thanks to TiVo and the DVR, they did a lot of research and they found that people hate commercials. They don't want to be served ads. They don't want their entertainment broken up. They want to watch their show, movie style, with no interruptions. So these guys had a great model. They came out with these devices that at a push of a button, you could skip an entire block of commercials and go right back into your show. That's great. Also, 10 years ago, these things didn't exist. Instagram was still a year and a half to 2 years away. At the end of 2010, it came out. Alexa and Google Home came out in 2014 and 2016, respectively. That's recent. Facebook had 150 million users worldwide. It's a pretty big number. Twitter had less than 30 million users worldwide. And in 2009, $2.9 billion were spent on digital out-of-home. That's still a good number. Traditional media was still king. But $2.9 billion being spent on digital out-of-home, that's a lot. So let's take a look at 2019. 10 short years. 85% of people close a web page because of a pop-up. They close a browser or a web page because they cannot stand seeing that ad. We still hate commercials. We still hate advertisements. We still don't want to see them. 65% of people skip ads, whether they're YouTube pre-roll or otherwise. The average 15-second commercial on YouTube or digitally is watched for 5.5 seconds. Why is that? Because of that skip button at the bottom. 5 seconds. It takes a half a second for you to move your mouse over, or maybe your mouse is already there and you're pounding on it real quick to get past it. So half a second goes by and that ad is gone. As a marketer, that sucks. Yeah? I spent a lot of time making that commercial, and you're watching it only because you have to for 5 seconds. 70% of companies now are marketing on Instagram. Whereas Instagram didn't exist, companies realized this is where everybody is. This is where we're going to reach people. This is how we're going to get our message across. 2.3 billion users on Facebook monthly now. And in 2009, where there was less than 30 million Twitter peoples, 321 million people are on Twitter monthly. That's a hell of a lot of people. That's a lot of eyeballs. Digital out-of-home jumped to $7.4 billion. By 2022 or between 2022 and 2024, that number's going to go up between $15 billion being spent on digital out-of-home. The money going into traditional television is coming down, and the money for digital out-of-home is going up. We're going to talk a little bit about this. 7 billion IoT devices are in the US right now. This is the Internet of Things. These are gadgets, appliances, things that probably shouldn't be connected to the internet that are connected to the cloud and the internet in some way, shape, or form. This year at CES, Kohler came out with an Alexa-enabled toilet. I kid you not. I kid you not. $7,000 is going to get you an Alexa-enabled toilet, complete with flushing, self-flushing, temperature-regulated water, lights. This thing looks like it's a spaceship and it can take off. They say, you could get your news and weather right on your toilet. Why? I use my cell phone like everybody else. The hell out of here, $7,000. Traditional media. I'm going to talk a little bit about traditional media in the TV sense because before I was at Captivate, I was in traditional media. I was on the broadcast side. I used to work for a company called Tribune. Tribune Media owns almost 50 television stations across the US. If anybody here is from Chicago, Tribune owns WGN9 and WGN America. So when I was on the Tribune team, I was a part of the design team that launched what WGN America is now. They used to be a superstation, kind of similar to like TBS, where they showed, cop shows and some comedy shows, and they wanted to move towards more of a cable feel like AMC. So when I was at Tribune, I helped them launch their first two original programming, which was Salem and Manhattan. Salem was about the Salem witch hunts, and Manhattan was about the Manhattan Project. And that was a lot of fun. We got to rebrand that station as well. So I have a little bit of experience on both. I've got the television side, and now I'm on the digital side. This is kind of what's happening, right? In 2017, 27 million people cut the cord, said goodbye to cable. By 2022, that number is going to go up to almost 60. 60 million people saying goodbye to television. And that's because the people who are predominantly cord cutters are 24 to 35-year-olds. And where are those 24 to 35-year-olds? They're looking for entertainment somewhere else. They're on Hulu. They're looking at the subscription-based models. They're on Netflix. They're on YouTube. They're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. That's where we're consuming our media and our information these days. Because we're not home anymore. We spend more than 70% of our time away from home. We go to work, but to get to work, it takes you about an hour. We go to our office, if we're in a city, we're seeing all sorts of billboards and ads. We're spending so much more time at work. We're not working regular 9 to 5 anymore. We're going to the gym at work, we're eating, we're going out, and then we have an hour commute coming home. So we're not sitting in front of the television as much as we used to. So we have to find ways now to reach those people who are no longer sitting in front of the TV and who've gotten rid of cable. So that brings us to digital out-of-home. That's basically any kind of signage or any means of communication for an advertisement or information that's not in your home. What are some pros of digital out-of-home? Well, a larger reach, right? If we're not home anymore and we're out and about, that digital out-of-home makes sense. Much larger reach. It's always brand safe. What do I mean by that? Well, at Captivate, we have over 150 world-class content providers, and our live editorial team will siphon through that information and deliver the most relevant content to the people who are looking at the screens on a daily basis. This has happened many times in the past where a TV anchor or somebody on the television show said something that upset advertisers, and advertisers went and pulled millions of dollars off of the air. So that's what I mean by brand safe. Digital at-home is brand safe. You don't have to worry about that. It's fraud-free. Basically, we don't have bots crawling around and giving false impressions, no fat fingering, hitting ads on your phone by accident. You mean to hit, close it out, but you accidentally click on it. So the impressions are correct. It's not skippable. Can't close a digital out-of-home ad. You can look away, but if I'm not looking at this screen, there's still all of you looking at that screen. And it's 100% viewable. It's clutter-free. Especially for Captivate, when you're in an elevator, that screen is there, that's all you see. So you're kind of forced to look at it. You can look away, but something about it just draws you to it and you look at it. So pros, cool, that's awesome. How about some cons? Well, I got some for you. Oftentimes it needs to be custom built. For all you designers out there, this is a pro and a con. Pro because I get to do a lot of work and charge accordingly. Con because I get to do a lot of work, say I'm going to charge accordingly, and never get that. And we have a rap sheet like this long of specs that you don't even understand because it's not standardized. There's no standardization whatsoever in digital out-of-home. When you were in television, you knew back in the day. Anybody work in television? Like back in the day, like SD days? It was 4:3. You knew what the size of the screen was. Then we went HD, and everybody could build out for HD, and it would play on all screens. But with digital out-of-home, there are some of the weirdest sizes you could possibly imagine. Here's an example. This is something that I worked on when I was in New York. This right here is the Oculus at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, which is home to the Brooklyn Nets. It is a beautiful structure. And when you build something on this and it's lit up at night, it is absolutely gorgeous. But look at the size of that thing. Look at the shape of that thing. That's bizarre. What is that? I don't even know what that is. These people give you a template, which is kind of helpful, but you're building out television ads and you're building out signage for buses and you're building out taxi cab ads, and then all of a sudden you got this weird ass thing here that you now have to reconfigure your entire design for because it's got some middle space here where you can have your anchors. I was building a local news ad at the time for Pix 11, like the morning show. So we had our anchors in the middle and you could spin stuff around on the top and it's cylindrical and it was just odd. So that's what I mean by building to really weird specs. This is a big one. Oftentimes there's no sound. That was a big change for me. I used to be able to tell a story using visuals, and then add an amazing soundtrack and a great VO to tell that story. It's not there anymore. So you have to find ways to convey that message in a soundless environment. This is another big one. You have to adhere to signage laws. I never really thought about that. If I'm Big Tobacco, I can't put a tobacco ad anywhere near a school. And if that school happens to be in a heavily populated area where there's other businesses and people I'm trying to target, too bad. So there's laws against what you can put and where you can put signs. So where are we headed? Well, digital out of home is there. It's going to be there. But there's ways to upgrade that digital out of home. There's ways to kind of break through some of that visual clutter that we're all seeing on a daily basis. How are some people doing that? Well, things like facial recognition, brand. This is where we're going to get into the creepy side of things, just to let you guys know. Facial recognition, brand recognition, which I'm going to tell you about in a second. Voice and audio enabled. Geofencing. Geofencing is basically, it's an invisible blanket, if you think of it that way, over a landmark or a building. And what that blanket does is once you cross into that blanket, that invisible blanket, if I'm an advertiser and I'm connected to that specific box at that building, I can now capture your information and capture the data and your search habits, and I can serve you ads based on what you're doing. So that's what geofencing is. Retargeting ads. I'm sure you've all experienced this before, where you're looking at something on your laptop, and then all of a sudden you get that damn thing on your cell phone. You're like, how does that happen? Because of retargeting technology. If you're at work and you're on your laptop and you're searching for shoes, your laptop has an IP address and that goes up to the cloud. You close your laptop, you go home for the day, you get home at night, you open up your laptop, and you're checking your email. And the internet says, I got you. You're not where you were. I know where you are now. You're on a different Wi-Fi network. Okay. I'm going to sit here and wait. So you pull out your cell phone, and you start browsing through Instagram, and now you're caught. Now, the internet says, here's a laptop that was searching for sneakers with this IP address. I now see it on this Wi-Fi network. Here's another device on that same Wi-Fi. It must be the same person. I'm going to serve them that sneaker ad on your stupid cell phone. It's what's going on. It's what's happening. This right here is from Deep Vision. They're working on technology that does brand recognition with cameras, with really, really good accuracy. Okay, so what does that mean? Right now they're collecting data. They can put a camera in a city street and count how many people and look at how many people are carrying a Starbucks cup. Okay, it's good for collecting information, but what can we do with that information? Well, let's say we're Dunkin' Donuts, and I want to target Starbucks drinkers because I want them to come to Dunkin' Donuts and buy my coffee. So I'm Dunkin', I'm going to look for people who are drinking Starbucks, I'm going to collect that information, and now as I'm walking down the street, I'm carrying a Starbucks cup, that camera's going to recognize the Starbucks in my hand, I'm going to look up, I'm going to see a billboard, and it's going to say, hey, you Starbucks drinker, come to Dunkin' Donuts. Our coffee's cheaper, it's always hot, and get a donut while you're here. They can do the same thing with vehicles. By you driving through the highways and hitting those billboards, there's cameras on those billboards. Next time you drive down a highway, take a look, you'll see a camera on there. They can tell the make, model, and year of the vehicles that you're driving. Chevy Malibu partnered up with a company called Lamar who's doing this. And they said, I want to target people who are driving two-door and four-door sedans that are our competitors, like Ford or Honda. And when they drive through and they get scanned, the next billboard, they got served a Chevy Malibu ad. Time to upgrade your car. Chevy Malibu. Oh, and by the way, there's a Chevy Malibu at the next exit, waiting for you at such and such dealer. What else can we do with this? Well, suppose you're driving down the road in your BMW 6 Series. So we all have one of those, right, as designers. We're driving down the road in our 6 Series, and that camera scans and sees I'm driving a BMW 6 Series. And I relay that information back because, let's say, Rolex, which is another luxury brand, is targeting luxury vehicle drivers. So Rolex says, I want to know who's driving a luxury vehicle in this area. And as they drive through, they're going to get scanned, and the next billboard is going to be a Rolex billboard. Because Rolex says, if you've got 80 grand to drop on a BMW 6 Series, you probably have 10 grand to drop on a watch. So I want to target those people. It's crazy. So that brings us into some of the new media stuff. New media is like smart TVs, smart appliances, wearables, voice-enabled devices, security doorbells, and cameras, some of the stuff that we talked about. There's a lot of great usage for this stuff, though. Smart appliances. Samsung has a refrigerator that has a camera inside that when you're shopping, you can take your phone out and say, oh, I'm low on milk. I'm going to get some more milk. But what if one day Samsung partners with Amazon or Peapod? And now Samsung can look inside your refrigerator and recognizing your shopping patterns and behaviors and habits and what you buy, can monitor your food and say, don't worry, I got you. I'm going to order it for you from Amazon. It's a convenience. It's really creepy. But it's kind of cool. How about wearables? Wearables like the Apple Watch right now can detect if you fall and monitors your vitals. But how great would that be if your grandparents or your parents who are getting older had that device and you were able to monitor them as well? So if your father or grandfather takes a fall, you get notified. And it's just kind of that, that peace of mind. It helps you check in on your parents and family a little better. Security doorbells and cameras. This is where it gets a little creepy. Not a little creepy, a lot of creepy. You can give access to your cameras to your family members. You can give it to your neighbors. If you're on vacation and you want somebody to check in on the home for you, you could literally add them to your account and they can check in on you, check on your home. That's just a part of us being connected to that internet. That's a part of us giving up some of our privacy rights in the name of convenience. We don't have to do it. We don't have to give our parents access to our cameras, but it doesn't mean Nest doesn't have access to that, right? Why is this happening? People are on the go now more than ever. We already discussed that. Technology is growing so fast because we're making it grow so fast. Because we're building smarter technology and smarter AI. Because people want that convenience. People want things to help them in their everyday busy lives. So what are some ways we can adapt, change, and prepare for that stuff? We need to first change our mindset about traditional thinking and think about our clients. Our clients are looking for new ways for us to disrupt the norm. They're looking to us to reach the audience that is no longer sitting in front of their TVs. And how can we do that in a more targeted kind of way that will speak directly to you? One way we can do that, and one way we have done that, I'm going to show you an example. Degree came to us at Captivate and said, we want to target your audience that's in your buildings. And Degree works in really hot temperatures. And an elevator is a great opportunity to do that. If it's a crowded elevator, people get hot. And we want to play a Degree ad that caters directly and speaks directly to the people in the elevator. So we came up with this to talk to those people. And then we also piped in dynamic data so that wherever this ad was playing in the country, it would pipe in the city and the current temperature. So Degree says, don't worry, we got you covered. So this is a way for companies to get a little more familiar with their target audience and speak directly to them, make it a little more personal. This is an example of Whole Foods. Whole Foods, much like Starbucks now, are popping up everywhere, and a lot of them are in heavily populated cities, and they were looking for people who are lunch goers, and they wanted to target people on their lunch breaks and say, hey, come to Whole Foods, we've got a ton of food for you to choose from. And so we also dynamically built in the nearest location. So they handpicked select buildings that were near Whole Foods, and we piped in that address into the creative. And then they had, each day was something different. This one said a 5-course tasting menu for lunch and some interesting hashtags. But there was salad, there was bento boxes, there were sandwiches. So this is just another example of targeting audiences without being too creepy about it, but still speaking to a specific set of people. We need to realize also that even though the clients are expecting new ways for us to reach those audiences, the technology that's there is not perfect yet. And I'll give you an example. A couple months ago, I was talking to a friend of mine. I used to live in New York, and now I'm in New Hampshire. And we were talking about rock climbing. I'd recently taken up rock climbing. And she said to me, I used to rock climb, don't get to do it so much anymore. And I said, oh yeah, you have Brooklyn Boulders, which is an indoor rock gym in Brooklyn. I never got to go there. I wanted to, but I wasn't into it at the time. And she goes, yeah, that's where I used to climb. I haven't been there in a couple of years. Okay, cool. Carried on with our conversation. That was the end of it. I get home that night. I opened up Instagram, scrolled through my feed, and I got a Brooklyn Boulders ad on my phone. I never searched for Brooklyn Boulders. Not once. But I said it on the phone. I'm not even in New York. I shouldn't have even been targeted. How many people here believe their phones and other devices are listening to them? How many people have had that experience? Yeah. It's crazy. It's not the first time it happened to me. It was the most recent and the most creepy time. But the technology roots are there. It's just not perfect yet. And that opens up a whole slew of problems. I expect to get served an ad by what I search, but I never expected to get served an ad by what I said. Before I get into a recap, I just want to talk real quickly, see if you guys have any questions and answers, open up a conversation. If you guys have any experiences that you guys had with technology and some weird-ass shit like that, I'm interested in hearing about it. Does anybody have any questions? I know it's Friday, last day. Yes?
The whole billboard thing, how would that work with hundreds of cars? Who's going to trigger the Rolex ad?
It does it automatically. It's programmatic. They schedule it that way. It's been done. They're doing it now. Yeah.
On a main highway?
Yes. Yeah. So who triggers it? The system triggers it. So there will be a threshold. So if, for example, Chevy, when they did it, and you can Google it, Lamar, Chevy, Malibu, you can look at it and see the technology and how it works. Basically, Chevy said they had a parameter. They said, I want to target people who are driving Ford vehicles, Honda vehicles, or whatever their competitors are. And as people are driving down the highway, the cameras that are up on the billboards are scanning. That technology recognizes the vehicles. It collects that data in real time. And the next billboard, it will play that Chevy ad that was built specifically for this campaign. Yes, absolutely. It's not like somebody sitting there going, go, wait, another one. It all happens. That'd be hilarious though, right? That'd be really funny. It's like some dude sitting on a billboard with like binoculars. That'd be awesome. Yes?
So, we as marketers, we want to reach these customers
Yeah.
in 2 ways. As customers, hate this stuff.
Yep. Isn't that the conundrum? We're the consumer and we're also the person marketing.
How do we do it in ways that are like respectable of like people who just want to feel like Target, I don't know. Facebook has me dialed in. I order t-shirts all the time because they know me. And I kind of like it because I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I want. But in some manner, like I know, like when I want to market to my crowd, I don't want to put them off.
Right.
How do we balance that?
I don't know. That's the rhetorical question. How do we do that? And that's up to us to really work with our clients to figure that kind of stuff out. We need to understand the technology that's out there that's doing these things and what the capabilities are of these technologies. And then we also have to look into how are we going to do this in a way that is not creepy? How are we going to do this in a way where I'm not going to get a Brooklyn Boulder ad 5 hours away in New Hampshire and I'm going to look at my phone, I'm going to get pissed off and say, this is ridiculous. I want to get off Instagram. It's a very, very fine line. We need to tread that line very, very lightly. We need to, and we know that our clients are expecting us to do this for them. So we need to make sure that we do it in a way that's smart. And we're working through that. It's still new-ish technology. We just have to find that out. We have to work together to figure that stuff out. Make ads that are, like in the case of Degree, not exactly calling you out by name, but speaking to a larger group. So you don't really necessarily feel like it's like, oh, it's me, I need that. Yes?
So, a while ago, a coworker had shared an article about Target and how it would check your location, right? So if they would have price differences for their online
The store. Yep.
their store, the price online would be lower than if they noticed you were in.
Mm-hmm.
The price online would automatically go up to match the price in store because they know, oh, if you're in store, you're more likely to buy it at a higher price for the sake of convenience.
Yep.
To me, I mean, I don't know, is that crossing a line?
Yeah, it could be. So was there a question, or you were just kind of like just giving a conversation per? So the statement was that a friend of hers was in Target, and they noticed that when they were shopping in Target, the price of an item was one thing, and when they looked at it online, it was one thing. And then when they left the store and they left the grounds, that price came down on the online store. Now, that could probably happen for two reasons. I can't speak to as to why Target did that, but my thinking is, when you are in a store shopping, how many people have your phones out and will scan something and see how much something costs, right? So if I'm at the store and I see something on the shelf and it's $10, and that's too low of a price. I'm not going to bargain shop for $10. Let's say it's $1,000. I'm looking at something that's $1,000. I'm going to pull out my phone. I'm going to check the price and see how much it is online. And the online price is $8.99. Okay, cool. I find that to be a deal because I'm in the store. Now I'm going to buy it. But if I was outside the store, you might get the benefit of a lower price because there's other competition. So now instead of buying it from Amazon, that price may come down to $6.99 to compete with all the other online stores. But if you're in the store already, they kind of got you, if you want, if you will, and they will make that price adjustment. That's what I would imagine. Anybody else have a question? Or any other discussion that you want to just talk about what's going on? Yes, I'll take the last one right there.
One specifically happening, you mentioned the Whole Foods example.
Yeah.
They were going to target a specific building.
Mm-hmm.
How granular can a marketer get with their campaigns? Can they target like a single building?
Yes, absolutely. So the question is, when in the case of the Whole Foods ad, we were able to target specific buildings that were in a location that was near a Whole Foods store. The gentleman asked, how granular can one person get as a marketer to target an audience? And yes, you can do one building. We could do one building to target an audience in itself. Absolutely.
Follow up to that.
Yeah.
Granularity. An elevator in a building is kind of a finite ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Do you currently, or do you think about using inputs such as what floors people are going to serve ads?
Yeah. So that's another great question. The question was, do we think about in that ecosystem of a building, targeting ads based on what floors they're on? And we do work with a couple of companies like DOOH and Schindler and Kone who do make the elevators, and we're working with them to integrate a PI system, which is just a position indicator. It can tell if the elevator's going up, elevator's going down, what floor it's going to. So, for example, we're going to get to there one day where on floor 4, let's say it's investment bankers, right? And on the 10th floor is Capital One headquarters. We can specifically target that floor, and it's like, hey, have a great day on floor 4. Don't forget we're up on 10, kind of a thing. I mean, we could do that kind of stuff now, where we can target our internal audiences that are in a building. But yes, we can work. And then someday, when we figure this out, because we've been playing with this, is like an accelerometer. How cool would it be, like when you're going up or down in an elevator, that an ad will trigger? That's like a Lexus ad or something like that, and you can feel the speed or the G-forces of the elevator dropping, and integrate that with an ad. That's stuff that we're working on right now too. That's a good use case of technology. But these are the things we have to think about when we're doing these marketing kind of things. I know I'm over time. Really quick recap. Here are the digital out-of-homes. Ad dollars are going there. We need to tread lightly on that creepy convenience line and protect it. This is the important one. This is the biggest takeaway. We have to protect the trust our clients have built. More importantly, we have to understand our clients' audience and the consumers. We have to understand, are they going to be okay getting this ad? And we also have to be prepared for their reaction when they get that ad. What's going to happen, right? One wrong ad served, or one unintended audience that message goes out to, it is very, very easy for somebody to speak up and talk about that bad customer experience. All it takes is 33 characters to set fire to a foundation that a company has spent so long building, that trust and relationship with their clients, their consumers. It's our job. We're right there in the middle of it. It's our job as marketers and designers to help protect them. I see that one. Thank you. The session over card. I just want to make sure. Guys, thank you so very much for coming down. Thank you very much for sticking around. This is a QR code. It will take you to my webpage. If you want to continue this conversation, there's literally a contact form right on that page. Drop me a line and say hello. Safe travels home, everybody.